Welcome back to the TMF podcast. This is going to be an episode with Jeff Kerins. He is going over the second portion of his A.S.L.E.F.T presentation. Now, if you haven't seen the first portion, it is on the channel. And we are going to go live weekly and talk about relationships, life, stress, depression, anxiety, and ways to overcome them. Again, you can check out the links in the description for more information on Jeff Kerins as well. And some other of the links down there you might find useful. So without further ado, everybody, Jeff Kerins with A.S.L.E.F.T, Surrender Club, and jeffkerins.com.
Okay, so before last time we didn't have as much time to go through the whole emotional awareness thing. So tonight, hopefully we're going to get through it. So what you're seeing here is I have no idea where I left off, so just bear with me. So how do our subconscious emotions work? And our subconscious emotions are in charge 95% of our day, our conscious waking day. And then they're pretty much 100% in charge when we go to sleep at night. Good dreams or bad dreams, all based on our subconscious emotions, or, how much pizza did we eat? So a lot of the times people think that they think and then feel, but really what happens is we experience what we experience, we feel it first, then think about, then act, maybe. So example, person cuts in front of you. What happens in that moment, usually with most people, is fear. That fear goes shocking through the system, and it's fear from all the other times you've almost been in danger, or you have been in danger, or danger has gotten you. You know what I'm saying? So then that feeling comes up, then the thoughts come. And usually what happens too, when we realize we're safe and they didn't hit us or whatever, we get angry, because when you have that emotion, when you have that rush of fear, you just get anger's the next step, because you got it. The body's the mind's got to do something about it to stop that fear, what happened. And then we usually honk the horn, give the finger, whatever. So that's an example of how our subconscious emotions work. Next. Okay, so usually people who are having a tough time changing in life, all their actions, now not criminal actions, but just their actions are they just think they're doing wrong all the time. They might sleep in because they're depressed. Wrong. It's just they're judging themselves over and over and over again and whatever. So it's your thinking is not right or wrong. It's a recipe. Our thoughts are just ingredients. So if you're putting in the mixer bowl anger, regret, jealousy, spite, fear, anger, stir that up and ding, in an hour that's your mess of a life. But if you start consciously putting in, love, empathy, forgiveness, you know what I'm saying? Just start living your life, reprogramming, the neurosensors that way, then ding, that's going to be your life on a thinking and feeling level. And I'm proof of that. So, yeah. And again, I just explained it before that anger is a secondary emotion. Okay. So what I believe is that anger, the only reason a human being is supposed to feel anger is because it's supposed to take us to that level of courage to do something about it. But you have to feel fear first. Now, there can be real fear, like a bear's coming at you or whatever, or you're about to be robbed. Then there's ego fear of what will they think? How will they judge? So again, different processes, same emotions. But yeah, you got to be fearful, then angry. You can't be angry, then fearful. You can't go backwards. See how it progresses, because the anger, instead of living in it, takes you to the level of courage. You do something about it. So what is emotional trauma? Now, that word gets tossed around way too much. As recently as the Oscars, the hosts are like, I was traumatized by the slap. And it's either you are so disconnected from real life, or you're just soaking it up. Likes and subscribes. So stay relevant. I have no idea. But true emotional trauma is let me give you a scenario. You're married, life is good. The marriage is good, kids are healthy, you got a job you're working at for years you really like, and you got a best friend. Okay. Now, everything good, you lose the job. Now, There's going to be some fear, there's going to be some anger, whatever. But, like the family still loves me, the kids are healthy, and, there's Bob still got my back. Okay, I can go through this. Now, what is trauma? It's multiple emotions, like intense emotions, and anyone can use their imagination to get there. But say, you lose the job, the wife's cheating on you, you're gonna have to pay for the house. One of the kids is now on the spectrum, and now it's going to cost an extra $5,000 a month for whatever. And Bob's the one who's been banging your wife. That's fucking trauma. So many emotions: betrayal, sorrow, regret, fear, anger, rage, like you name it. And the mind's just creating it all at once. Every time it looks at it, boom, all in the body. You are now fucked. Straight up. You just are. And then because those emotions are trapped, because everyone's taught to carry it, whatever the fuck, and do whatever, rub some dirt in it, walk it off. Now those emotions, the neural pathways are now open to this trauma of this much anger, this much sadness, whatever. So now it's easy to get sad. Now it's easy to get angry. Now it's easy to get detached. So and again, that's trauma. But there is ways, and I teach it because I had to learn it this type of way, is to individually go through each emotion and unpack it one at a time. So, but yeah. So acute trauma, it's the results from a single incident. Chronic trauma is repeated and prolonged, such as domestic or violence abuse. Complex trauma is exposure to varied multiple traumatic events, often invasive and interpersonal in nature. That's the wife and Bob and kids thing. So now, usually in a presentation, I'll ask who believes emotions are weakness. Like I don't use the word love because I don't want to come across vulnerable. I don't really talk about what makes me sad at night, or why I got to sleep with my favorite blanket. So yeah, again, people think it like we always got to be positive or charming or whatever the fuck, and it's like because we believe having emotions that are driving these personalities is a weakness. So I do not think emotions are weakness, but I was kind of raised in the typical boy fashion that emotions are weakness. Now, here's the thing. Again, with anger, all anger is a call for help. And it's only our ego that takes it personally. That me, myself, and I. When say my son is angry and he snaps at me, like, and I hadn't done nothing. I know he's angry, but he's angry about something else, and he's just taking it out on me. Now, I could sit there and be like, how the fuck dare you talk to me like that, motherfucker? Or I can be like, hey, man, you're angry. I'm just going to give you a couple minutes and just, tell me what's up. And usually I let him bite at me. Like, he'll just be like, yeah, fucking this, fucking that. Okay, just take it. Yeah. And he realizes it, and he's already pretty good at A.S.L.E.F.T. But he surrenders to it, and there's peace. But again, I could have just thought about me, myself, and I, commanded respect, or how could they say this to me? I didn't do anything to them. You're just creating yourself a whole bunch of pain because you're just thinking about the self. You're not using empathy, and all anger is a call for help. Why do we drink or take drugs? Why do we seek love? Why do we enjoy sex so much? One reason, and one reason only, because of the way it feels. Now, flipping that on the other side, why do people hurt themselves? Why do people kill themselves? Because of the way they feel on the inside too much. Anyone, if you live to the age of 25, you've lost somebody within 1 or 2 degree of suicide. That's just pretty much a fact. Every 40 seconds, somebody on this planet successfully kills themselves. And it's because of the way they felt. That's how important this is. Now, everyone we meet is fighting a battle we know nothing about. Me going to the store. I go to the same store every single day. And I'm like, how you doing? Fine. I'd be like, how are you doing? She's like, fine. I'm like, don't lie to me. And she laughs. She's like, how can you tell? And whatever, this and that. And I'm like, I just fuck with her a little bit, like, oh, well, your brow's up, so that just lets me know you're annoyed and whatever. And then I just tell her I'm joking and whatever. So it's always a loop. But she, like, the woman is stressed out. I don't know what's going on, but it's like we always do how's everything going? Fine. Usually until we find out if the other person's messed up, then we start sharing. So yeah, we're literally carrying around toxic emotions like anger, fear, guilt, and shame because we're still thinking about Bob and the wife and the kids from 5 years ago because that just hurt too much. And that's why I don't trust people. And that's why, whatever. So, I've seen this look a few times in life. How you doing? I'm good. I'm good. So, yeah, self-explanatory. Now, mental awareness and emotional awareness. It's both the same. The thinking, feeling, thinking. It's a loop. Conscious mind creates it first, subconscious replays it, and we just, as Terence McKenna says, we believe we're thinking, but we're actually listening most of the time to our thoughts. Now, people with addictions, they always talk about a void that they were trying to fill and it got out of control. And literally, because our subconscious is our body, and we can only store so much, anger, love, sadness, joy, whatever in the body. It's like a pie chart. So when we go through trauma and we don't heal it and we just try to give it time and whatever, that like the void is literally negative emotions. There's like too much fear, too much anger. Like you could label it cream cheese. If it hurts, it's got to come out. But if it's there, that means the body can't go into homeostasis because the mind's always on fucking repeat about something, or it's something in the subconscious, a feeling. It's all stored there. So we'd look to external solutions to try and fill that void. And then 3 years later, trying to fill that void, we lost our jobs, lost our friends, lost everything else. That's addiction, like hardcore addiction. So yeah, I just pretty much explained the other slide to this slide. So yeah, the void in the subconscious is it's literally stored up. Your past on an emotional level, whether you forgave it or keep it simple, whether you forgave it or whether you didn't, whether you forgave yourself or not, it's in there. That the chemicals are in there, lying dormant or being triggered. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but it's there and you can get it out. So yeah, why do people hang together? It's really mostly because of the way they feel. Now, working in recovery, in rehabs and stuff, you'll see people have different stories or even different drugs of choice, DOCs. But you'll see after a week, the ones who like carrying a lot of anger and they got the dry side, they bond together. And the ones who really fucked up their lives and their kids, they hang together because there's a lot of guilt and shame there. And it's like, and you can also see the transition as they say one of the group has a breakthrough and lets go and heals. They don't really vibe with each other anymore because it's the way we feel. You don't see positive people hanging out with negative people unless they have to. And negative people only have the choice of negative people, but they'll still talk shit about the negative people because they're negative. So what is an emotion? An emotion is a feeling such as happiness, love, fear, anger, or hatred, which can be caused by the situation that you are in, the people you are with. So emotion is part of a person's character that consists of their feelings as opposed to the thoughts. I'm just going to move on because that was difficult to read. So I've been really into Joe Dispenza for the last 6 months. I'm 4 books deep, and the guy, I really do believe Dr. Joe Dispenza is like a reincarnation of Jesus. Now, Jesus went around healing the sick. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches the sick how to heal themselves. It's fucking amazing. So, and it's funny because when I used to teach A.S.L.E.F.T at the beginning, people who knew about Dr. Joe Dispenza would mention him. And I'm like, well, I can't research him because it's a petty world and everyone sues everybody or just whatever. So, but, got to learn again. So feelings and emotions are just the records of our past. So all those memories, they're just records. So that means chemical, genes up, marked, downgraded, whatever, cortisol, whatever. Just that's the chemical production of your memories, whether they're forgiven or not. I've said enough on the subject. So yeah, we all have a voice in our head. And yeah, I know I've read online, people are like, I don't have a voice, I see pictures. So either they scream when they read silently, or they're just not aware they have a voice. Now that voice in our head, it sounds like us most of the time, but it sounds like us, and it's derived again by our subconscious emotions. Now it's like we have 3 psyches, maybe a couple of more. I have no idea, but to draw you a roadmap and open up your mind. So when you become metacognitive and you can become aware of your thoughts, this is what you'll understand. So if you're hearing the thoughts in your head, my life sucks, job sucks, whatever, I don't see the point, this and that, I like just low thoughts. The subconscious emotions that driving that inner voice is from your lower self, the psyche, the compartment of the lower self, and it's guilt and shame that's driving that engine, driving those thoughts. Now, when you heal the guilt and shame, surrender, A.S.L.E.F.T, whatever, then that voice just goes away. It's really crazy. Now, the ego, every time you have a thought about me, myself, and I, it's the ego. I don't have time to break it down and go into it, but it's a unconscious psyche. So that means it doesn't know why it does, but it always needs to be fed. So picture a version of yourself blindfolded with your mouth open and always needing and always needing and always needing. Now it can be filled, people recognize the feeling, vocational goals, it's usually just recognition. That shit really feeds the ego. But then it can always go empty. Like that's when, people get in a relationship, love each other hard, then they start cheating. It's like the ego's not getting filled anymore and they're not even conscious that it's working. Then you got the higher self, so again, you surrender to your fear and your anger, you're more compassionate to people. So if somebody does cut you off, somebody does give you side eye, you're more like, oh, they're probably having a bad day. Empathy. So you're not thinking about yourself, because anger is a very selfish emotion. It's very easy to get angry thinking about yourself, I've learned. But when you're, feeling the love and feeling the joy, Barbara doesn't piss you off as much. You let shit go because the vibe that you're in. So that's creating the thoughts of forgiveness and acceptance. Now, I've told Lauren this many times. It's only our stories that are unique. People will be like, well, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I've been through. And you're absolutely right. I don't. And I don't really care either. No offense. But what you have gone through in life or going through right now is creating emotions. So I may not know what made you angry, but I know anger. I may not know what made you sad, but I know sadness, grief, despair, sorrow, rage, guilt, shame, you name it. And it's like, I know that. So what I teach heals emotions. And when you focus on the emotions, the stories don't really matter anymore. They're easier to let go of. Because time does not heal all wounds. The painful experiences and all the unhealed emotions that are attached to it go from our conscious mind, I'll overplay it for like a week, a month, a year, and then all of a sudden something distraction happens and you're not thinking about it as much. Guess what? All those painful memories and unhealed just went right into the subconscious, right into the body. So your conscious mind can try and focus and do whatever. But, the cost of the subconscious is that if you have any type of reminder, you are going to get triggered on your 5 senses. If it smells something that was painful, see something, hear something, taste something, triggered, offended, all subconscious pain. Boredom. This feeling right here, boredom, is the leading cause of crime, alcohol, and drug use. This is a fact. And boredom at its real basics is you not being able to chill with you. It's gonna do something. Why? Because this fucking sucks. Seriously, when you go inwards and you really unpack that, wow, I really don't like chilling with me. It's a journey. It's fun, but you get breakthroughs and understanding, and life starts to feel a little bit, and you start to feel bored less. Oh, we're there. So, living with an unhealed past, like too many shit experiences, never surrendered, forgave, accepted, whatever, is like having multiple apps on in the background. So if you just chalk it up to this was shit, this was shit, this was shit, this was shit, that's still playing in the background, just waiting for you to pull that app up. But it's affecting your reality. So, and again, just draining the energy, I don't know if anybody remembers, but I remember when I got my first iPhone, the fucking thing was dying within an hour, and I had no idea about open apps. So, yeah, Learn to close them. Guess what? The phone lasted a lot longer. So, and how much energy does our past consume? Now, this is for the left brainers, man. This is just to kind of like draw you a picture and just being like, what is this like? Having, I'd never forgave my girlfriend or my boyfriend or whatever, this friend for doing whatever. That's still there. That record's there. And if there's pain attached to it, it's running in the background, So think of it like task manager. Your CPU, that's your conscious mind. It's trying to use that energy. But to think of new things, but it's right now it's trying to survive because the subconscious is taking up 82%. Background, my last breakup, my first breakup, the shit that happened in my childhood, what that person said about me fucking 5 months ago, my lying, cheating ex, subfolder, and the bitch he hooked up with. All the times I lied, guilt, shame. All the times I hurt people, guilt, shame. All the times I hurt myself, the lack of forgiveness. All the things I don't like about yourself. That's called the shadow self. All of it's there and all of it's taking up energy. But when you start to clear it and unpack it, you do heal, you do change. The person you are literally dies on a feeling level. Oh, okay, that one's it. So, any questions before I get into acceptance?
All good, buddy. Keep going.
All right, we go. Let's get through this. All right, acceptance. I can't, the window's blocking it. All right, cool. Okay.
From God's penis.
Don't be playing from God's penis. I just got Alexa set up a different way. So yeah, acceptance. Now it's the A in A.S.L.E.F.T. And most of the time with our past and why we carry our past and the pain along with it is because we still haven't accepted that it happened. Now, acceptance on a psychological level, yeah, that's something I didn't fill out. So the psychological definition of acceptance in human psychology is a person's assent to the reality of a situation. Like, okay, I'm scared, man. Getting stressed over this isn't a point. That's literally acceptance. Recognizing a process or a condition without attempting to change it or protest it, or let me add, to manipulate it. You just let it be. If your friend's being a dick, just let them be. Just accept it. It's all right. You can let it go. And it's really just saying, it's okay. I'm okay. It's going to be okay. Now that's the conscious mind trying to undo the feeling that's making you have to get into acceptance. So this is where you have to literally think greater than you feel. And as Dispenza puts it, if you want to heal, you have to think greater than you feel. Now, over the years, I've had dark moments where it felt so fucking dark that it's okay, I'm okay, it's going to be, that wasn't working. Now, on the 175th time, I kept saying it and literally wiring it into my body. Guess what? It felt okay. So with some surrendering and everything else, but psychological acceptance. It's okay. I'm okay. It's going to be okay. No, we never tell ourselves that. We just let the mind run amok, and it can be solved with acceptance. Now, when you have a problem, and you just overplay it, blood pressure, tension, stomach issues, whatever. But when you take control, so it's like, oh, what if this happens at work? It'll be okay. Well, what if I get this bad news? It'll be okay. We'll work it out. I'm okay. It's going to be okay. Now that stops the mind from reproducing to all the genes and whatever chemicals that make high blood pressure and lower the sodium. So yeah, now you really can't change anything about yourself, your personality, your behavioral traits until you can accept it first. Because accepting is people are you always act like this. You're like, no, I don't. And they're right, but you're just, no, I can't. No, fuck that. Then you can't change the behavior. You'll always defend it. You always reinforce it, and you'll probably die alone. That's just the way shit works. But if you can be like, oh, wow, I do act like that. And instead of beating yourself up, fuck, it'd be like, it's okay. I'm now conscious of it. And if I'm conscious of it, I can change it. But you accepted that it was there. You accepted that there was a problem affecting your life, and it's okay. It's not to beat up to somebody. It's not to judge, it's not to lynch somebody. It's okay. And again, acceptance, like people who have anxiety, it's funny. Well, no, it's fucking funny because having anxiety, when you put acceptance in there, you can't be anxiety's base root is fear. Okay. So, but if you have acceptance, you literally your body wants to get fearful thoughts, whatever, and then you take control of the conscious mind. It's okay, I'm okay, it's going to be okay. You start to remove the anxiety and lay off the fucking coffee because that crash can produce anxiety. Now, acceptance allows the mind to come up with solutions instead of creating the negative feelings, whatever. So if you're always worried that this is going to happen, this is going to happen, what if this happens, and what if it happens this way and happens that way, you're just creating more problems, more stress. You're not coming up with solutions. But when you're like, no matter what, even if you paint the worst case scenario, it's going to be okay. Now you're giving yourself the mojo to actually come up with solutions so you don't even get to that worst case scenario fantasy you painted in your head. So some people disagree with this, but bear with me. Many people who have been healed from life-threatening injuries and diseases, they accepted they were sick and could die, and it was okay. Now, there are some people like, well, I didn't accept it and I fought it tooth and nail. And yes, but what I'm saying is that most of these people had recoveries is because they stopped stressing their body out like they could heal the condition, not all the fears and what ifs all around it. That's what acceptance helps the body with. So now you don't have to accept everything that has happened. Okay. Like, look, man, my hair's thinning, man. This thing's gone. I do not accept this. I'm debating like shaving my head or like, getting the Rogaine out. I don't accept this. But out of all the things in my life right now and everything else, the list used to be huge before, I learned all this stuff, but it's like now I've only got a few things in life I don't accept. It's everything else I have a lot more peace on. And that's what you will get to, whoever's watching. Eckhart Tolle, there's only 3 things we can do in life: accept it, change it, or leave it. Everything else is emotional madness because anything else will create any negative emotion you want to take your pick from. So accept it, change it, or leave it. That's all you can do. And now knowing this, being aware of this now, if you're pissed off about something, you can't let go of something, you are creating your own madness because there's only 3 ways out of it. Accept the present moment as if you chose it. Now this I can sometimes achieve, but there's other times I've been so stressed out and I've been like, how the fuck am I supposed to accept this goddamn stress ball I'm calling a life right now? But you can. It's like, because when you start to accept it, calm down the body, and the mind starts to give you solutions on how to deal with it better, get out of it, whatever. So accept the present moment as if you chose it. Like all the great masters say, every calamity is a chance to grow. It's a chance to learn something that you never really have to repeat again in life. And I believe that because I've experienced it. So now acceptance is more than just thoughts. So, brain heart coherence. If I'm feeling like shit, but I'm trying to accept it, there's a disconnect. Okay. But when I actually accept and feel it, there's actually like a willingness and energy and excitement comes up, so that's when you've matched, and now you're pretty much in the present moment doing that. But so yeah, saying it's okay over and over, but not believing it, this is the result you're going to get. You're just going to get static and chaos. But you get mind and heart coherence. Once the body matches the mind, you have coherence. That's your state of being. Now you could have angry thoughts, angry feelings. Guess what? You're in an angry state of being. But let's focus on the positive. So yeah, whenever time I meet somebody and they're just like talking about as fast as I am right now, and they're just and scenario, they're like, they actually drop their head and they're like, yeah, I'm an overthinker. Like, like it's a bad thing. No, fuck that. Overthinking is a gift. Like, overthinking is a sign of intelligence. You know what I'm saying? You don't think Kevin there, he's digging a hole with a stick, is sitting there overthinking anything. No, he's thinking about digging a hole with a stick. So now the problem is we get caught up in whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now the solution. So you can overthink all you like. Like, don't try and meditate. Don't try and do whatever. But you're just going to do one little thing. Now, as you're overthinking to the worst possible scenario, and before you play it again on a different angle, end it with acceptance. What if this happens? It'll be okay. Then the mind will give you another problem. Overthinking it, it'll be okay. So when you start doing that and you give the mind all its due and you've ended it in acceptance, you'll feel yourself start to calm down. And when you can start to master it, there'll be times you do need to overthink. Can I think of one right now? But there are times. But sitting there on the couch or trying to go to bed and just overthinking, no, man, that's toxic. That's maladaptive behavior, and you got to stop that. And this is how you do it. Don't try and change the thoughts. Let them play out. Just add that acceptance part at the end. So what happens when we start accepting things we didn't before, like accepting the way we feel, accepting our anxiety, our depression without resistance? Feelings start to arise because, again, the mind wants to give you a problem. When you're trying to shut down the mind, it's like it brings negative feelings up as like backup. This is why we need to think about this, because we feel like this. Am I done that? Yeah, I am done that. That was a good lead. So now we're on to surrender. If I can actually move the bar and see it. No, that's just not happening. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're almost through. We're getting there. All right, surrender. No, wrong button. No, that's right button. Okay. So, surrender. This is a big one. As you'll see going through this, is because we really have no clue on how to get rid of our feelings on a healthy level. So surrender, what is the definition of surrender on a thinking level? Ceasing resistance to an enemy or an opponent, and submit to their authority. So you're literally ceasing resistance and submitting to their authority, submitting to your body's authority of just feeling what you need to feel. Because again, your emotions are the authority. So when you start to surrender, you learn about it on a feeling level. This does mean crying, but babies cry, adults surrender. So yeah, cease resistance to any and all feelings and emotions that you are feeling in the moment. Because again, when we don't like the way we feel, we try and distract ourselves or, smoke a cigarette, do whatever. I'm sure all you guys have the list of what you do. But if you're going to heal and you want to get through your past, you got to start sitting with it. Because this is what not surrendering looks like. Like the belief of tears are weak. I'm a pussy if I cry. I gotta, just give it time. Or I'll go to a doc and get on meds. Worst thing for you. This is what not surrendering looks like. It's leaving us feeling drained because the mind's always in the future. It's always in the past. And every thought uses up energy and creates energy. And with the motion, the energy it created, it is an emotion. So, and again, just playing too many times, too many programs running in the background, and it's just leaving us drained. Now, again, this does mean crying. Now, I do believe there's two types of things between surrendering and crying, and I'll break it down probably in this section or another time. But I really want to drill in everyone's head, men, women, and, the 63 other genders. Just, you're a human being, and this is the way it works. When you release tears, you are not broken. It's just that you are too much. Like if you have the belief that emotions are weakness, you'll wait till you're at your breaking point to actually shed like even one fucking tear, let alone just let it out. So let me go through this. So now the mind thinks it, our body stores it, and the eye releases it. Now, when it comes to things like sadness, despair, sorrow, anger, rage, Powerful emotions need a powerful release. And it's just energy. As again, like as the Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it, is that our tears are just proof that our emotions are physical. So you have to get this physicality out of you so the body can start to go back into a homeostasis. So again, babies cry. They cry for attention. It's a learned behavior, and they could cry when they have something in their eye. But if you adults, we surrender. We realize that life is beating the fuck out of us right now. We're losing it because we don't have energy. We're irritated. We're starting to lose friends, family, and everything else. This is all our pent up, suppressed, repressed emotions that you really can't cry it out. You can't wait till things are bad, go into the bedroom for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then everything's going to be all right. No. If you're going to heal, you got to surrender. And that's a very mature approach looking at your feelings, because you're going to go deep into your subconscious. So yeah, 2 types of crying. One, like a pot boiling over, a steam kettle going, can't take anymore. And usually it's that when that's happening, people are like, I hate the way I feel. This fucking sucks. I just want this to be over. And what you're doing is you're releasing, building, releasing, building, releasing, building. It's a cycle. But then you feel the endorphins after and you're like, oh, a little bit lighter, whatever. And you think you're okay. But you never want to go back to that place again. Yeah, because you waited to the last moment. When you start to learn how to surrender, you don't have to wait till the kettle's boiling. You can deal with it when it's dealing with midpoint and get rid of it for good so it doesn't hurt us bad. So this, if you're going to heal, this is what surrender looks like, man. You're just going to let it out. And some moments are going to be more intense than the others, but it'll work. You just got to let it go. Now, life has proven to me that this works, and it always puts me in the most awkward positions to do this. Me, it was at a coffee shop, Tim Hortons. I'm in the middle of line. I was like getting depressed. Now, this is the scary part about depression, is that life was getting really good and my darkness was growing. So the external was getting good. My inner was it was horrible. And then, I already knew A.S.L.E.F.T, whatever, just working some shit out. My subconscious wanted to talk to me. So I'm inside Tim Hortons. I'm like third person from the back. And of course I got 2 dudes in front of me, 2 dudes behind me. And I know the people behind the counter. And it just came like a wave. And usually I could you can stop it. You can resist it. But it was like, I've been carrying this darkness for like 2 weeks now. I would do anything to get rid of it. So I just surrendered to it right there. And everything just poured out. And I wasn't like, ah! It was just sat there like taking slow breaths in my mouth and just feeling it. And I could literally feel it from my whole body just coming out, this darkness. And yeah, after that, like it was embarrassing. Like dudes are looking at me, the woman behind the counter is like, you all right? I'm like, just give me a minute. They're like, even like strangers were like, holy fuck. And and again, wasn't making noise, wasn't doing whatever. It's just feeling it. And yeah. And went to bed that night, woke up the next morning, that darkness was gone. And that darkness has never been back to that level. So that's the power of surrender. But would I have liked to have done it in my privacy of my own home? Yep, you betcha. So now we believe we're a bottomless pit of emotions was not true. Like we can empty the tank. Like fighters can tell you, like, you were super fucking pissed and they punch the shit out of each other. After it, they kind of even like each other, but sometimes. But the one thing they're not is angry. They literally got the anger out. They literally got the sadness out. They like not fighters, but it's like you can literally empty the tank because the tank is our body. And how do we feel after a good cry? More tight, more slow vibration, the more matter we are, but the more we release and surrender, the lighter we become, the more energetic become, more on a molecular level, we're more energy and we don't feel as exhausted. And again, we feel less triggered or offended, because to feel triggered or offended is just the mind. So that you have the experience, or even in the thought in the head, is powerful enough that it triggers uncomfortable feelings. And that's all your mind telling you through your body, is that you have subconscious emotional pain that needs to be healed. But no, It's fucking whoever commented on Facebook's fucking fault or Twitter's fucking fault. I'm triggered. I'm this. Like, take some fucking responsibility for your fucking feelings. Seriously. So yeah. Now, be careful with surrendering. Now, when you have that break and you go through the rounds of just getting the emotion out, you can build that pain up again. You can replay all the stories and build it all back up and go back to a place of misery. Because it doesn't hurt anymore, you can forgive it. You can accept it now because it doesn't hurt to think about because you surrender to it. You see the dots I'm connecting? Like one thing I've learned about surrender is, or your pain, your anger, your sadness, your grief, your despair, your sorrow, the only way out of it is through it. And just surrender. Because the light, the feeling of lightness is on the other side of the darkness that you're carrying. So surrender, resisting the feeling of painful emotions does not make you strong. It makes you a fucking selfish asshole because you're carrying around so much pain. You're thinking now about the self all the time. So the rest almost just becomes manipulation, or you try and be nice, or you are nice just to distract you from your own backyard. And you're killing your mind and your body holding on to this. And your feelings, if you hold on to them enough, they reshape your personality. Like, how did somebody become bitter? Because all that pain reshaped their identity and their actions. We cannot create a new future while holding on from the emotions of the past. And that's literally, we have to become masters of surrender to literally let go of our past on a feeling level. And don't worry, I get a lot of people, some with sociopathic traits that are like, if I ever started crying, I'm so scared that I wouldn't stop. And like, I can feel their fucking anger. Because usually with somebody who doesn't cry, you'll get their level of anger first, and then it's got to break. So yeah, you're not a bottomless pit of emotions. You cannot go over and borrow a cup of sadness from your neighbor. You can get everything out. You just have to put your mind, know what's going on inside your body. Now, when something doesn't hurt anymore, wait, if I'm going to take you down this journey and you're going to watch this and you're going to try and heal, and you got shit you need to work out that you've been carrying for a long time, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to get fucking dark, really dark. There is going to be moments where you're just going to be like, not worth it. Like when you're working out guilt and shame and that comes to the surface, the thoughts come of like, you feel like you're not worth it. And it's just a feeling. And when you surrender to it, you got in your darkest moment, and this is what got me through, I want you just to say to yourself, this too shall pass. And it's the one phrase that'll save you. But after a good night's sleep, you wake up, it's all gone, and you're good. So you got through it. But I think you just needed to know that one part if you're going to take that journey. So when something doesn't hurt anymore because I've surrendered to all the feelings, it's easy to accept and it's easy to forgive. Now, if you've forgiven it, you've accepted it, and there's no feelings about it, guess what you have done? You have let it go. It's gone. That's the beauty of it. So good old Nikola Tesla, if you want to understand the universe, you got to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, when you can get around a person and pick up on their vibes. It's literally all the molecules, cortisol, whatever the fuck's going on in their body that it's giving off a vibration that you're picking up on. That's literally the vibes. I like their vibes. Okay, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. Yay! Love that energy field. Cortisol and whatever the fuck. Just cortisol, like the main one. But anything else like that, or the shut off of dopamine and whatever. That again gives off the vibe that you can feel, and it's energy. So when you look at terms of frequency, energy, and vibration, now when you look at your emotions saying, well, I'm going to unpack my subconscious, because when you get that energy out, the body automatically goes back into homeostasis, or it tries to. So what does that mean? Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, shit like that, the good stuff. So guess what? You become a pleasure to be around because you got good vibes. Surrendering transcends your emotions. So, like I said, the body wants to go back into homeostasis. So, if you get the negative out, the positive just takes care of it by itself. You literally transcended your emotions. You transcended your anger into peace. You transcended your sorrow into joy. It just comes fucking automatically when you just learn how to surrender. The science behind surrender. So this is from Harvard Medical, that this, and again, this is like the stigma of crying and everything else. This study was done in 2021, like written. So emotional tears, which flush stress hormones and other toxins out of our system, that potentially offers the most health benefits. Researchers have established that crying releases oxytocin. So that's like a major component when you're taking drugs, especially love drugs, and endogenous opioids. Everyone knows that word, and also known as endorphins. So that's just from getting the tears out. Your body will automatically generate that. Something to think about. Crying is an important safety valve, largely because keeping difficult feelings inside, what psychologists call repressive coping, give it time, rub some dirt in it, can be bad for our health. No shit. Studies have linked repressive coping with a less resilient immune system, like carrying around all that pain weakens the organs, weakens the stomach, weakens the body. Cardiovascular disease, the heart, and hypertension. Oh, it's all the stress I'm carrying. As well as mental health conditions, addictions, depression, anxiety, suicide. They all have one major thing in common: emotional trauma is attached to it. Trauma, different types of emotions that needed to be unpacked and surrendered to. So you get the point. Oh, and that's the end of that. And now love. Just stick with time is it? I'm like serious. It's like, whoo. All right, let's keep going. Present. Oh, I gotta start at the beginning. You better start at the beginning. Don't be an asshole. You ever seen this cat? Well, actually, you can't answer. You're muted. This cat, Ma, look at this fucking cat. Look at it. It's his cat, but he just makes videos about it because it's so ugly. I love it. Okay, so love. What is love? What's interesting about the word love? Anybody who's having a tough time in life, carrying around a lot of pain, the two words that people have a problem with, they're carrying around too much pain, is love. Love and God. Hearing those two words, it's triggered. And that's a clear sign of emotional pain in the subconscious, which you can get rid of, and you can start to believe in words like this. So I always give in a presentation, I'm like, who here thinks love is a weakness? And, when I'm in love, I feel vulnerable. Really? Like, just to tell somebody you love them? No, you feel vulnerable because it's the fear of loss or the fear of rejection. Fear, which is conditional love, is not real love. Sorry. But it's like, which is stronger, love or anger? Now, the life I had growing up, most of it to my mid-20s, was anger was my shield. I can't let people in. I'm too damaged. I wouldn't even admit to that. I just can't let people in. If I said I loved you, I fucking meant it, because I felt fucked even just saying it, because it was just like, what if I'm get hurt? So what is stronger, love or anger? Anger can keep the defenses up, can keep the threats at bay. It doesn't have to make us feel vulnerable or weak. Now, let me just flip that around. When you just start having love, just not come over and bang my wife type of love, but just love, for somebody's just existence, doing the best they can. And, if I just unconditionally love something, it cannot hurt me. If I unconditionally love someone and they come up and slap me, I am not going to take it personally because the love that I have from that feeling, that generation, is going to create the thoughts automatically that I know that they're hurting and they just projected it onto me. But but with anger, you come up and fucking slap me. we're gonna have fists, possibly. If you're a dude, if you're a woman, just duct tape you and put you and roll you up in your yoga mat. So anger. When we're angry, we feel protected and safe. The downside, the stresses of the body of constantly being in anger, cortisol, whatever, and it creates loneliness. And I've got the camera in the way, so cause what? Oh, because we can't let people in. I already said that. All right, move on. So love, when we love somebody or something unconditionally, they cannot emotionally hurt us, and it is impossible to feel vulnerable about it because there is no loss. There is no condition like I love you as long as you don't leave me. I love you as long as you don't do this. All conditional love bullshit. I love you if you just change. Conditional love. So what is the downside? Oh yeah, our ego doesn't like unconditional love because the ego wants to think about the self and our feelings and what's in it for us. If you love a person, you accept the total person with all their defects because the very effort to change them says that you only love half and the other half of the person is not accepted to be loved. Osho. This is my favorite one. This is about attachment because when you break up with somebody and everything else, there's a ton of attachment, ton of anxiety, ton of fear, ton of moving on. Like there's just a ton of negative emotions. But it's like, this is where I treat people, friends, everybody in life. It's like, if I enjoy today, I look forward to tomorrow. I don't need a promise of it. Because if you love a flower, you don't pick it up. Because if you pick it up, it dies. And it ceases to be what you love. So if you love a flower, you let it be. Love is not about possession or attachment. Love is just about appreciation. And you can have that for people. You can have that for pets. Because when we're so wired that if something feels really good, our mind usually goes into the future about, and how's this going to end? Because it has to end, whatever. Because, life is not supposed to feel this good. So love, it's one of the highest frequency and vibration. Like, don't think of it as like, hugs and kisses, boss level cuddling. No, look at it as like a vibration, because when you love yourself and you're just feeling love, it's like, it's what you give away. You can call it joy, you can call it whatever, but if you're just feeling the love, you project love, because we can't give away what we don't have. I can't be angry at you if I'm not carrying anger, but nor can I love you if I'm not carrying love. It really is that simple. And when you go from, like, this is the reward of people like with going through emotional trauma, pain, depression, anxiety, you name it, suicidal thoughts, addiction, you name it. They're always like, why? What's the point? What's the worth? Like, why should I face these demons? Why should I face this darkness? Because I promise you this, on the other side of that darkness is a feeling and a consciousness, an awareness that really makes you thankful to be alive. And I get that because you haven't seen me in a dark place or everything else. So if you're really upset, you just probably want to stab me right now. But I'm telling you, on the other side of your darkness is lightness. Is light, higher frequency, higher vibration. That's love. So one of the highest forms of love you can show somebody is basically just letting them take their shit out on you and not react, knowing that they just need to let it out. And the ego, for some fucking reason, always wants to take its worst fucking pain out on the one it loves or the opinions they respect. You know what I'm saying? So family members, everything else. It is one of the highest forms of love. And if you really just minus yourself and just look at it like that, if you got the patience for it, you'll get to a solution. And yeah, the growth of it's pretty good. But I've had to do this with a couple of people. Just let them take their fucking shit out on me, be berating, whatever. No physical harm, no threats, no nothing, but just letting it out. And at the end of it, I let them know it hurt. And some people I care about, I shed a fucking tear because it fucking hurt to feel that and to have that projected on you. But they because that person genuinely is a good person inside, they just had to get that anger or whatever out. They usually cry or they feel bad, and then it goes back to peace. That's one of the highest forms of love you can give somebody. So when you have accepted everything that has happened to you in your life, you've surrendered to all the negative feelings and emotions that were built up in the body, and you empathized with others and yourself and forgave it all, you are now back in homeostasis, which is peace, love, and joy. And yes, this world is fucked right now, so no, it's not going to be a constant, but it will be a majority. Now, when you look at love, this is love on a brain scan. Okay. Beta, this is like high beta is when we're worried about something. This is the mind chatter right here. Alpha is most programmable. So when we get home from work or we feel safe and we're watching something, we're very programmable, whether it be a movie, newscast, whatever. Theta, that's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot between conscious and delta or REM. And that's where Thomas Edison used to, if he had a problem, he'd sit in a chair with a metal ball with a basket under, a metal basket, whatever. And he'd set the intention, be like, this is the problem, set the intention for the solution. And when you're just about to fall asleep, the ball would drop out of his hand and it'd make a clanging noise, wake him up, and he'd have a solution. So they say we're our most intuitive right in between consciousness and sleep. And then delta, of course, is sleep. But gamma, so look at these lines. Look how busy that is. And then you got up here. That's from so much joy and love, whatever. That's the chemicals are producing those type of brain waves. That's something where you want to be. That's love. And yeah, here's a close-up of it. Oh, I think I got one more. Empathy, right? Oh, wait, oh my goodness. All right, I still have empathy and forgiveness to do. You got time? Do you want to do it?
Yeah, I got time.
All right, let's get into it. All right, now we're on to the E of A.S.L.E.F.T. And E stands for empathy. You ask most people, what does this world lack? And the response is usually empathy. And it's funny, they're usually the ones bitching about it, don't show it themselves. But I digress. So, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. So it's not sympathy. Sympathy is when you're like, oh, well, I went through this, or if I was going through this, this is how I would feel, and that's why you're showing sympathy. Fuck sympathy. Empathy is just you seeing them, you're feeling them, like you just... So cognitive empathy, for like empathy, empaths, kind of same shit. So cognitive empathy is the understanding. Emotional empathy is the feeling. Compassionate empathy is both. So the cognitive empathy, oh, I understand what you're going through because you're processing it on a thinking level. Emotional empathy is like, oh my God, I feel you right now. Then it's compassionate, you got both. And there's also spiritual empathy, but we're not there. Why is empathy important to our own emotional health and mental health? Because again, say if we have anger issues, there's like in almost every fucking angry thought, there's a me, myself, and I. And usually we're angry at shit. If we go unpacking it deeper, it's shit we never forgave. We could be angry at ourselves. We could be angry at people. We never accepted it. We never forgave it. So say if you're in an argument with somebody, actually that's a slide comment. So empathy doesn't let the mind create anger that the body has to feel. That's, anger, that's saying that being angry at someone's like drinking a bottle of poison and expecting it to affect the other person. So anger stops, thinking about the self, where empathy starts. Put that in your bowl and smoke it. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever tried this, but nothing stops an argument faster than empathy. Because most of the time an argument is people want their feelings recognized and they don't feel like their feelings are recognized, and now we're at DEFCON 2. So if you can put your own feelings, I don't like the way they're talking to me, look at this attitude, this is not like putting all that, you're building up the defenses to go to war. But when you just use empathy and try your fucking hardest to see why they're hurting and they're got a problem on a feeling level. Because nobody really wants to argue on a thinking level, because when we argue, we're emotionally invested in it. So, and then we're thinking about ourselves, who can wait for the best line, or we only stay quiet long enough so we get a chance to speak or we get a chance to be heard. So when you empathize with the person and try and see it from where they're coming from, and acknowledging it and like doing it, the argument ends real fucking fast. And again, empathy silences the ego, the psyche in the head, the me, myself, and I. When you actually empathize with someone, empathize is like giving the benefit of the doubt. Now, yeah, you might be dealing with a real fucking narcissist and a sociopath now, but they weren't fucking born that way. And yeah, somebody fucked them up. Life gave them a shit fucking sandwich, and yeah, you got to deal with them now. But you can at least get into enough empathy to heal the pain that they caused. Okay, you don't have to invite them over and allow them back in your life. This is for your benefit, to empathize with people so you don't fucking suffer. Yeah. Because again, most people are fighting a battle we know nothing about. So don't take their mood personally. If they're being a dick to you, or if they didn't say hi to you, or they're giving you attitude and you didn't do anything, that's on them. It's not on you. Let it go. Let it go. That's how empathy helps you from, putting your bad mood on other people. So when can empathy become toxic? Now, empathy can become toxic if you're going to empathize with somebody and you don't have a solution. So you're going to go into their darkness, you're going to empathize with it all, and you don't have a solution. You're both fucked. Like you're going to become wound mates. And so if you want to be wise, you empathize. So I believe forgiveness, unconditional forgiveness, is the path to emotional freedom. Like if you're a master at forgiveness, you don't get angry, you don't have rage, whatever. Like, there's a lot of peace behind the tool of forgiveness. So if forgiveness is the door to emotional freedom, empathy is the key that unlocks it. Now, which brings us to forgiveness. Thank goodness. Shut up, Cholo. My cat's scratching at the door. Daddy's busy. Come on. Okay, so again, like with A.S.L.E.F.T, I believe like you can remove it to 4 words: surrender, acceptance, forgiveness, and empathy. Safe, feeling safe. Because those are the 4 major ones. Tolerance, I'm not even going to go into tonight. And love is just the end result, the end product. So it's not like you'll feel it. You don't have to really define it. I'm just showing it to you here to believe that it exists in your miserable world. So, forgiveness definition: a conscious, deliberate decision to release all feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, especially yourself. When people usually take the journey of forgiveness, their biggest nemesis or their biggest problem is forgiving themselves. Now, we need to separate forgiveness. We need to separate the truth from the lies of what society tells us what it is and really what it truly is in an intrinsic state. So the lies: we are programmed to believe that forgiveness is something we give to another person when they have wronged us, or something that is given to us when we have done wrong. And this starts from a young age. So we believe if someone does us wrong, I'm supposed to stay fucking pissed off at you, just pumping a whole bunch of cortisol through my body until you apologize or get ass cancer, whatever, depending on the offense. Now, or when I do wrong, I'm supposed to feel like shame, guilt and shame, like the 2 most toxic emotions, until you give the okay for me to feel better. Fuck that. No, man, that's way too much power a person can have over you. Fuck that. Now the lies. So yeah, it's supposed to be something to be received when we've done something wrong. We are supposed to feel bad, guilt, shame. Yep. So we're giving people over our power and happiness and self-worth. And again, fuck that. Don't give anybody power. If you've learned the lesson, doesn't really matter. Okay, there are some conditions, but mostly if you've learned the lesson, forgive yourself, then move on. Their forgiveness is secondary. Now, this is how our core beliefs are developed by the age of 7. So our core beliefs, deep in our subconscious, how we are going to love and how we are going to fear in this life, is developed by the time we do up our shoelaces. That's crazy. So this child is learning right now, the one who got sent to the corner and not allowed to play with his friends and everything else, is learning right now that he can be shamed for the way he feels, and forgiveness now has to come from an external source, aka the parents, caregiver, whatever, for him to feel better about himself for the rest of his life. So it's like, I get it, parents use that power so the inmates don't run the asylum. Now, the problem is later on in life, say they go out and fuck up and people don't know how to forgive them. It's just perpetuating guilt and shame, perpetuating guilt and shame. And you watch that thing snowball because they don't know how to forgive themselves when society can't forgive. It's the same people why people go find religion. It's like their family won't forgive them. They can't forgive themselves. So they're I'm going to go to the biggest source on the fucking planet to give me salvation, to give me forgiveness for my fucking sins. You know what I'm saying? So guilt and shame, the two most toxic emotions. And these are the things when we don't forgive ourselves. So what is our level? Guilt. What is our self view? We're vindictive. What is our life view? It's evil. What is our feelings and emotions? We have feelings and emotions of blame. Now, what is our action? Like, what is our process in life? It's destruction. Okay. Now, shame. What is our self view? Despising. I hate me because I'm like this. Our life view is just miserable. And our feeling and emotion is humiliation. But again, our process, our action, elimination. So drugs, alcohol, sex, suicide, too much guilt, too much shame. Now, this is where most people live right here on this level, the level of desire. So we believe that our self-view is denying, like I can't feel natural love, whatever. It's got to come from something external. But the external life is disappointing. That's why I'm always craving. And therefore, to my desires, I am always enslaved to the feeling. This is where mostly everybody lives. Now you can, like, do you want to get around here? You know, empowered. You know, you got your addictions in check. They're not ruling you. You're in charge of you. This is where you want to be. But unfortunately, this is where a lot of people are down here. And that's why I do what I do. So forgiveness in the body. Now, all those life experiences, we never forgave them, never forgave ourselves. All that pain is in our subconscious. So, like, in our nature, we want to live as long as possible and we want to reproduce. So we need food, water, and whatever. So, but the thing is, though, what we try and do is, again, to live as long as possible. Doctors, like science, can pretty much prove that our emotions, if we carry the wrong ones for too long, fucking kill us. They shorten our life. And most of it, if you really unpack almost every emotional thing, whether someone traumatized us, we traumatized somebody else, forgiveness. So we're always stuck weakening our body, weakening our immune system with our emotions, our own emotions. So forgiveness, again, with surrender and acceptance, whatever, but on the thinking level of forgiveness lets that pain go. So it puts the body back in homeostasis so it can last longer in this finite life. So yeah. So the truth is, forgiveness, it's a tool. You're not looking at it as a process, it's a tool. I'm going to forgive that person so I don't hurt anymore. I'm going to forgive myself so I can learn and grow and not think about harming myself. Just to keep it simple, it's a tool. So, and this is the real truth, man, is nothing can hurt emotionally when you are a master of unconditional forgiveness. Well, actually, the first rule to ever mastering your emotions, if you ever want to get a solid grip on it, rule number 1 is only you can hurt you. And this is kind of like rule number 2. Nothing can hurt you emotionally when like if you think about the person or life or whatever, and there's no more judgment, there's no more pain, you don't hurt. It's not creating anything. You're now more in the present moment. So again, why do people go seeking religion? It's because they're looking for forgiveness for the sins that they can't forgive themselves for. So they got to give it to the big daddy in the sky. And again, if you had to describe God on a feeling level, not a sky daddy in a sky or whatever, just on a feeling level, what is God? God is love. Like, it's the feeling of love. Forgiveness in the ego. Now, the ego can forgive, but it really can't forget. And it's got to be conditional. So the ego can forgive once, I'm really sorry I hurt you. I noticed last week you were trying to bring muffins in for everybody and make everyone happy. Like, you're just like, well, you upset me. You upset me, but I'll accept your apology for now, unless I might need to bring it up later. But again, all the pain that because we can't forgive, we are projecting into this world. We can only give away what we have. So, and again, projection can be a good thing. If you're filled with all love and everything else, you're just going to project that. But we're not here for love. So, forgiveness is the truth. When somebody believes something or something is unforgivable, that client is agreeing to a lifelong contract of suffering, emotional suffering, and not limited to, but anger, shame, guilt, And again, it's pain that only you can feel, no one else. So even the person you hate, life you hate, God you hate, only you're feeling it. And you literally have signed a contract of misery that you're doing for you because you think something's unforgivable, which is a lie, because everything is forgivable if you want to feel better. Now, learn this from Wayne Dyer. Nobody dies from a snake bite, but when you're bit, you're bit. But what kills you is the venom. Now, whatever you want to call it, emotional pain is venom. And forgiveness removes that emotional pain, or doesn't allow it to build up in the body anymore. Forgiveness in the body. So when we start to forgive our stories of our past and surrender to the emotions, and we go back into a homeostasis, look what happens. Now, because we have healed experiences, we have more naturally positive attitudes and beliefs, which gives us a more peaceful, loving, joyful perception of life. It's an inner world to the outer. Subjective mind, objective life. And forgiveness, it's an inside job, literally. If you become a master of doing solving all the problems in your head and all the stories with forgiveness, you feel better with nothing happening or changing externally. So why can forgiveness be difficult? Because we don't know what it is. Okay, I just pretty much went through this. Yeah, so the first time we did something wrong, our parents, they guilted us and they shamed us, and until we said sorry or they forgave us, and forever teaching us that somebody can hold power over the way we feel. So I don't know, any parents or young parents that you're watching, if you ever want to, I get it, you can't let the inmates run the asylum, but you can add on a little bit more, because when it's over, you let them know it's over and you tell them to forgive themselves. Always drill it into their head, and you're giving them more than a 50% chance of having a healthy mental health life. So yeah, again, we already went through this forgiveness in the ego. I'll forgive them when they apologize, or again, if something goes good in our lives, we forget the things that we're mad to a point. But so, and again, the translation is I'm going to carry this pain until my feelings have been recognized. That's how the ego, the unconscious psyche, fucks up the body. It holds feelings hostage to hurt us. I won't go down spiritual avenue right now, but yeah. So the Tale of Two Monks. This one's a really good one. So this tale here is about back in, 100,000 years ago, the Chinese government warring with the monks. And they tried to destroy them at one point because the monks learned Kung Fu and there's conspiracy, they're building an army, whatever. That's as far as I know. So Chinese government came in, arrested everybody in this one place, threw them all in jail for a couple of years, tortured them, starved them, harassed them, abused them, whatever. And then one day they just let them free. But what they did was is they spread them all over the country so they couldn't come back and make a monastery. So years went by, 5, 6 years, and this monk's walking down the street or path, and he bumps into another monk, and it's been like 10 years. And Monk A says to Monk B, says, have you forgiven them? And Monk B says, no, I will never forgive them for what they did. They ruined my life. I have nightmares, this and that. And Monk A says, well, then you're still in jail. The only way out of it is forgiveness. But if you keep replaying the situation and the horrible events, you're right there. And here's the one thing about the mind or the body. The body cannot tell the difference between an external event happening and one created by the mind. So if we keep replaying shit because, there's no forgiveness in the equation, then it's only us suffering. It's robbing us from a better life. This is my best example. Now, this lovely woman just passed away a few years back. So Eva Moses Core, she's a known Holocaust survivor. And this is just a little bit of the atrocities that happened to her. So born in Romania, had a twin sister to Miriam. She had, her mom, dad, they're taken to Auschwitz. Mom, dad, and 2 sisters killed immediately upon arrival. They're experimented on by Dr. Mengele, the angel of death. Received over 20 injections. They thought her sister was going to die. Now, and also too, after the experiments, her twin sister stopped growing. Like her organs stopped growing. So Eva had to give her a kidney, piece of her liver to keep her alive, and she still died. Now, this woman wrote a letter of forgiveness 50 years later. And this is some of the quotes that she said. It's like, what I discovered was life-changing. I had the power to forgive. I was a victim for almost 50 years. I never thought I had any power over my life. It's an act of self-healing, self-liberation, and self-empowerment. Now, if you want a crazy fucking story to compare your life to that you can't forgive, you look at Eva here. Now, even also too, like she's all over YouTube if you just search her name. She even got denounced by most of the Holocaust community because she forgave Dr. Mengele. It's a crazy story. Forgiveness is the fragrance the violence shed on the heel that has trampled it. Or wait, crushed it. Yeah. It's good, eh? And tolerance. I don't feel like doing tolerance. We're done. Tolerance is basically a measuring stick. If it's like when you become self-aware of your emotions, if you're not being tolerant, like if you're like, wow, I'm got some angry thoughts or I'm really pissed off and this and that, that's your if your tolerance is down, your emotional pain is up. And it's usually either from your diet, what should be in your body, what shouldn't be in your body, and your subconscious emotional pain. So when you look at your own tolerance, you can be, that's what starts the self journey inwards, if you will. All right, my man, that is it.
Are you sure that's it?
Are you sure? That is.
Are you positive?
Oh, I still have more, but I'm done.